I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mentorship Mondays with Michelle and Maren, where we talk about all things metaphysical, psychic, mediumship, life, emotions, you name it. We talk about it here. Hi, Maren. How you doing?
Hi, Michelle. I am doing well. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I'm on the mend with my sinuses, so hopefully I won't be too much of a distraction today. I felt so bad last week. I was blowing my nose the whole episode, so I've had lots of tea this week, so hopefully I'm doing better.
That's good. It
What
is
about
the
you?
season for
Oh,
allergies and whatnot too, isn't it? A lot
well,
of
and it
people,
just
I know we have mornings where we'll wake up just kind of stuffed and then it starts to clear out. Marcus woke up one
hmm
morning and he goes, I don't know why I'm snubbed. I'm so snubbed. And he's like, Mom, make it go away. Make it go away.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been
Gray
giving lots of
household.
sinus massages.
Yes, yes. Gray household, we are one day at a time. One day at a time. But we are trucking along. So hopefully Maya's going to be getting her call on
Oh, good,
Monday or Tuesday. So we
good.
talked to the hospital last week. So we're hoping that that transpires. She's had a pretty rough last 2 days. Yeah.
Oh,
hmm
poor girl,
Yeah,
man.
she's really going through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she is. And what a trooper she is. Like,
she is.
I couldn't
So,
imagine. Well, we
yeah.
all are praying for her and
Thank you.
just
She appreciates it.
wishes her the
I tell
best.
her
Good.
everybody's prayers and everything that's
Oh,
sent to her,
good.
and she really appreciates it. Yeah. Thank
Good,
you.
good, good, good.
hmm So what are we talking about today?
Okay. I kind of have an exciting topic. So we'll see where it goes and where it takes us.
I love that.
Um, Okay, so I was reading a bedtime story. My son loves soccer and he got this little soccer bedtime story book and it like just has all these like little short stories about soccer.
Yeah.
And so I was reading one the other night and it was about Paul the psychic octopus.
Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
interesting.
didn't know they could be psychic. Yes.
So this is a
Um
real, like, this is a true story.
This is a true story. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all
Okay.
the stories in this book are true. Yeah,
Okay.
and so I think that if maybe you live in Europe and you're part of the like Premier Soccer League world over there, you might know about Paul already. He's kind of famous.
Okay.
But for us Americans that are just dipping our toes into the well, I'm seeing now you can totally tell I'm an American because I'm saying soccer, but in the football world,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
about Paul. Um,
Mhm.
so, so I guess it's this octopus at the at a zoo in Germany, and for fun, they put two little chests in with the flags of the soccer teams that were going to be playing. And inside the chest was like a little like mussel or something for him to eat. And
Okay.
they were like, okay, if he picks whichever chest he picks first, that's the team that's going to win.
Mhm.
And so he did it, and then by in my opinion, first time by chance, the team won. But then they did it again and again and again, and he was right every time. So I think they did it like at least for like the World Cup and different like high profile matches. They did it like at least 7 or 8 times with him, and he got it right every time. And it's like become such a thing, and he would do it before that, like if if he would predict like your team would lose, they would put octopus on the menu, and if he predicted your team, would win, then they would like spare all the
Oh my
octopi
gosh.
in the
Yeah.
town, and like they would take it off the menu. So, um, so anyways, but then he's retired. Well, I think he's dead now, but he retired, but he only did like 7 or 8. So I don't know. That could be like that could be chance, only 7 or 8 times, but I don't know. But, well, what do you think, Michelle?
Well, I was just jotting down some notes because information was coming in and I didn't want to forget it as it was coming in. But so I was just getting that yes, this octopus was predicting. It's not that the octopus was thinking that. So, although we do know more and more about the octopus and how intelligent and
Yeah.
so much that we don't understand. And so
Yeah.
that brings me to one of the first things that came in is why do these things happen? Why do we have these experiences with um, animals, uh, creatures, ocean creatures that we don't fully understand? Why does this happen? Well, what is the big lesson behind it? It happens so that it can expose the belief and the idea that there is more to this world, that there's more to explore. So that's why this is such a big phenomenon, why so many people are involved, because it really captures interest and it gets people
Yeah.
thinking, like, wait a minute
Yeah.
here. Is this
Yeah.
possible? So exactly why we're having this conversation right now. Is this
Yes.
possible? So let's talk a little bit about what would be going on with the
Okay.
octopus. So when
Do you
I
want to see a
feel,
picture of him?
could you? Yeah. Do you have a
Yes.
picture right there?
Yeah.
I'd like to see him.
Here he
Oh,
is.
hello, Paul.
For people that are just listening, he's just sitting on top of the two chests with the flags on him, and he's kind of
So
a
he
little
is
guy.
deceased right now? He is in
He
spirit?
is. Yeah.
Well, why don't we ask him?
Okay.
Why don't we pull Paul in here and see if he will join us?
Okay.
Let me see.
Paul the octopus dies. So, yes, he's definitely deceased.
Okay, so I've got an energy stepping in here. Can you feel anything, Maren? Are you picking up on anything?
I do kind of feel like energy back here.
Yeah.
That's interesting that it'd be like on the head and they have such a big head.
He's coming in real slow. It's kind of like just moving in really slow. Okay, let's see what he says. I'm just greeting him, saying hi to him. So he's saying that he was motivated by the energy. He was motivated by energy. So on a physical level, yes, he was motivated by food, by the sense, his senses with food. But was he consciously or actively predicting who was going to win? No, but he could feel the energy. So if we think about belief systems and about collective belief, there would be a lot of energy that would be placed on one or the other. And what he's showing me is that one would feel more expansive than the other. So he was riding on the collective energy, not necessarily who was actually going to win or not. He was moving through. Now, here's the thing. Not everyone was. I'm asking him, is it the belief system of who they thought would win? Is that what you were feeling, Paul? He says it's a combination of the conscious and unconscious energy. He's also telling me that um was it octopi. Octopi is the plus version. That the octopi are actually very sensitive beings. They're very sensitive. So he says that he is not the only one. There are many other um, animals, beings in the world that sense energy. So are they psychic? Well, yes. Because many of the animals, they're not existing with an ego. They're not experiencing the world the way that we are, because they don't really have that singular feeling to them. They don't have that it's me. This is my decision. This is my choice. This is my food. There is more of a survival and a group consciousness type of feeling that he's showing me. And he says, so when placed in any circumstance to act upon what he's feeling, he's going to be drawn to where the energy is, he's saying wider, more expansive. So does that mean that they're psychic? Well, yes, but it's broken down a little different than how we explain ourselves and how we experience reality.
Wow. Well, I don't know.
Mm.
I feel like that is how we experience it. It's just more, it's extra, what do they call it? Extra perceptory or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's what
Yeah,
extra
yes,
isn't that what it is?
yes.
Extra perceptory?
We're both
No.
I know what you're saying.
E
The words are
ESP, right?
losing me right
Extra
now. Yeah,
sensory perception. Extra
that's
sensory
it.
perception. There it is.
That's it.
Okay,
Ding,
I
ding,
got
ding,
it. I
ding,
got
ding.
it. Yes.
Yeah, winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Because yeah, and like that's what you say too. You're like, well, this option feels more expansive to me.
Yes,
And so he feels that energy the way you feel that energy, and we just don't necessarily feel that energy because we're not as attuned, but we can
that's right.
become
Like
attuned. Okay.
he's showing it as it's just where he's drawn. So he's likening it to he's actually showing me, and I don't know if this is from the movie that you watched or it's maybe something separate. It could be a documentary or something, but it looks like somebody's filming their experience with an octopus, and he's showing me that they're drawn to a higher vibration. So if you've got an individual that feels a sense of affinity for an octopus, for love, they're going to that connection. They feel that connection. So they're very drawn. So if you were to put two people, say, in the water, and one is say more emotional feeling, more heart centered.
Yeah.
And the other one, the octopus, is going to be drawn to the heart centered energy as a natural vibration because they feel likeness with it. They
That's
feel
funny. That's
it's more of an
like,
expansive energy.
yeah, like when I don't know, you hear this all the time, like, don't be afraid. They can smell fear, you know? And it's almost like that, where it's like they feel
Yeah,
the energy.
yeah. And so, and it's not, he's just explaining to me, it's not like we're saying you don't have a heart and you do, so we're going to this one. It's more like if
Mm,
somebody had a lot of fear, that's for
lower.
an octopus, that's not really it doesn't necessarily come off as fear. It just feels, it doesn't feel expansive. It's just not expansive feeling. And that's, he's being very clear about it. It's either expansive or it's not.
Okay. I mean, that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like you have like one principle to live your life by as an octopus to survive, right? Is this expansive or not? And so you go where it's safe and expansive.
And I'll tell you too, the energy is very female feeling, not male. So I'm not sure
Paul,
if Paul was actually a female or what the case is, but he's coming in on my female side.
is he? Well, our next story is a female. Our next
Okay. Okay.
animal. So I wonder if
It could be the energy on that side. Yeah, that's possible. This one has fur. So who are you bringing in
oh,
next? Yeah.
oh, is it
Yeah.
Lady Wonder?
Yes.
Lady
Yes.
Wonder's here. Okay. When you said let's bring in Paul, I was like, oh my gosh, and Lady Wonder. So I'm so excited about Lady Wonder. So thank you, Paul. I think Paul was that Paul originally. I think it was Paul originally, and now it's probably Lady Wonder.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of energy that's coming in,
For Lady Wonder.
responding, and yes, and
Yeah.
responding. They're giving me the validation. So yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I know octopi can be very intelligent, but I think Lady Wonder is definitely like off the Richter scale for intelligence. So
Hmm.
Lady Wonder was purchased by a family in like Virginia, I think, in America,
Lots of
and
love.
from yes, like I think she thought of Lady. She was first originally named Lady, and I think she thought of Lady as her own baby because she got her when she was very young and bottle fed her,
Oh my, yeah.
um, and she like died. The owner died shortly after Lady died. I think it was of a broken heart. So like definitely a lot of love in that connection. Um, but from a young age, they noticed how smart Lady was, and they started teaching her the alphabet so that she could communicate with like large children's alphabet blocks. And she would like move her nose and touch her nose on the blocks, and that's how like they started communicating. And they also noticed from an early age that all they had to do was think about Lady coming over and Lady would come over. Like they didn't even have to call her. So they
Okay.
were like, oh, can she read our minds? And then she started, as she got older, she was doing like miraculous things. And people would come over and they would pay, and you got to ask Lady a question and she would spell out the answer.
Oh wow.
And some people even were like, okay, what is the date on this coin? And she would, like 1925. And then they were like, oh my gosh, that's the date on my coin. And one person set a clock that only that person could see and said, like, what is the time on this clock? And she was able to say the time on the clock. And even, is it DB Ryan or DL Ryan? I can't think of his name, but he started the let's see, he started the extrasensory perception studies at Duke University. And so he's pretty famous for being a Duke University specialist and studied, like paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave Lady over 300 tests and concluded that it was extrasensory perception.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That speaking of pets, there is a frog trying to get into my office right now. Oh, it's so little and cute. He's like, and it's so funny how our pets showed up. Michelle was like,
Yeah.
my dog and cat are right here. And I'm like, my dog's
Yeah.
staring at
Like
me too. And now the frog's
right.
trying to come in. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. This is an
Yeah.
animal event. I
That's
wonder how
funny.
many listeners like have their pets like,
Yeah.
sitting by their side for this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know they've
They
got the
do.
psychic sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyways, so he came and investigated and concluded that she must be, that she's legit. And he reported that she had some sort of genuine telepathic powers. So, anyways, and people came from all over. So, but here is the craziest story.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm just going to read it because
Yep.
it's that good. 3-year-old Ronnie Whitecap left his 3 small playmates in the front yard and ran around the house. It was a few minutes before noon on October 11th, 1955. 2 hours later, and this little boy, he's 3 years old. 2 hours later, Ronnie was the object of one of the most intensive searches Central Indiana ever saw, a search that led into many states and finally to a horse that had the answer. When little Ronnie failed to come home for lunch on that fateful day, his mother inquired of his 3 small playmates, who told her Ronnie went into the woods and he wouldn't come out. Frantic, the mother spread the alarm for the woods to which the children referred, constituted thousands of acres of shrub timber that spread over the hilly south central Indiana landscape around the Crane Naval Depot where Ronnie's father worked. If Ronnie was lost in there, finding him quickly was imperative. Sheriff's deputies and Indiana State Police lined up shoulder to shoulder with an estimated 1,500 employees of the Naval Depot. Ronnie had been missing for only a couple of hours when the search parties were formed. By late afternoon, when the October chill began to settle over the scene, long lines of men were scanning the bushes and ravines for some trace of the youngster. They were working against time, for without shelter, it was highly probable that Ronnie could not live through the night. When the searchers came up empty-handed long after dark, the case took a different twist. Ronnie was a very pretty little fellow and very friendly. Had he been taken up with some strangers and abducted, the searchers felt certain that they had not overlooked him. Let's see. I'm going to kind of skip ahead. Once the story hit the front pages of the newspaper and the broadcast services, tips poured in from all sides. Ronnie was seen at a bus station. He was seen with a young man dressed in a hunting costume. Authorities were overlooking nothing. With the aid of the FBI, they ran down every clue, and each clue was fruitless. And then, so 11 days dragged on, still no trace of little Ronnie. And then on the night of October 22nd, the search for him came to a halt. And then the authorities in the case, it says on October 22nd, after the search had come to a halt, for lack of any further leads, my wife and I were discussing the matter, and she recalled a strange case of a few years before in which the authorities in New England City had credited a most unusual source with helping them to solve the mystery of a missing child. The authorities in the case had found the child with the information supplied by a talking horse. So she had already solved a mystery of a missing child. So they weren't able to get out. She was, I guess, in Richmond, Virginia. They weren't able to get out there. So let's see. Okay. They're going to kind of go into the backstory of that one. Okay. So since I could not make the trip to get to Richmond, Virginia myself, I immediately got in touch by long distance telephone with a close personal friend in Washington, D.C., and they went there. Yeah. Who wants to? Okay. Okay. They went reluctantly and they returned bewildered. Mrs. Fonda, the owner of the horse, was ill, and Lady Wonder was more than 30 years old by this point. After convincing Mrs. Fonda that the case was an emergency, my friends were finally permitted to enter the stable to ask the horse questions. The first question they put to her was, "Do you know why we're here?" Without hesitation, the horse spelled out B-O-Y. "Do you know the boy's name?" Lady Wonder flipped the letters for R-O-N-E. Was she trying to spell Ronnie? "Is he dead or alive?" And she spelled out D-E-A-D. "Was he kidnapped?" N-O. "Will he be found?" Y-E-S. "Where?" H-O-L-E. "Is he more than a quarter mile from where he was last seen?" Y-E-S. "More than a mile?" No. What is near him? Elm. "What kind of soil?" Sand. "When will he be found?" December. And then she shuffled out of the stable. So they got home and told the news. And then, let's see, it was on December 4th, they found the boy. Let's see. On the afternoon of December 4th, two teenage boys found Ronnie's body. Authorities determined that Ronnie had been dead when Lady Wonder said he was dead and that he had not been kidnapped and that he died of exposure shortly after he disappeared. The child's body was found in a thicket in a brushy gully or ravine in sandy soil a little more than a mile from where he was last seen. There were little saplings in the vicinity, and the nearest tree was an elm about 30 feet from his body.
Hmm.
The child was found in December, just as Lady Wonder had predicted many weeks before. Isn't that
Sad.
unbelievable?
Well, let's see what she has to say. Do you want to ask her some questions?
Yeah, let me here if everybody wants to look too. Here is Lady Wonder using her spelling machine.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Mhm.
Yes.
I'll just tell you something that has been coming through while you were talking is being shown. You know how many dogs, um, how they have the buttons. You train
Yes.
animals with buttons. So, I mean, this particular horse and its owner, like this is a soul contract and a soul contract to come into this life, kind of like what we were being said to before, is that these things are possible. These things do happen. But this horse particularly had a soul contract to be able to come in with this individual, and the woman connected to the horse, they've been connected before. So this is not the first lifetime that they've come into. Um, but what I was being shown was that the level of awareness, so like we were saying with the octopus, many animals have a higher level of awareness, and we know this already. Any of us that are pet owners know that our animals can sense when somebody they love is coming home before, somebody's even come in the vicinity in the neighborhood. They always know when something's going to happen. Like, I know I've witnessed it many times. So they have a sensory with sound, taste, smell. There's so many things that are far more heightened than they are for us. But the other thing is too is that animals have a already an agreement with the spirit world where there's influence. So when there is conscious attention being paid to an animal, and in this particular one with Lady what was her name?
Wonder.
Lady Wonder. With Lady Wonder, there was so much love and effort put into the communication. Just like noticing something that's naturally elevated already, and there was a lot of effort put in to continue to grow that. So I'm getting such a evolution, but that soul was already quite evolved. So coming into this lifetime, there was already an opening present. So it's not like the horse was taught to do it. It was already present. And so it was opened up through discovery, able to work with it. Okay. So any questions? Do you have anything that you want to ask and see what she said? Oh, she's a strong, very loving, so
She,
loving.
that's amazing. Um, okay. Well, I don't know. I guess I would say because with Paul, he felt the energy, but Lady, which seems more just like yes or no, right? It's
Mm-hmm,
expansive, it's not. I have
mm-hmm,
two
mm-hmm.
choices. But hers, like, she was able to be so specific on the details. Like, do you know why I'm here? Boy. So how was she getting that information? Is this true psychic? Or did she have, I almost felt like I kind of read some more stories too, that some of her answers were, and I know times have changed from the 1950s, but some of the language that she used, like the clock, when the person set the clock, he said like a quarter notch. And I'm like, oh, I've not heard time be called a quarter notch past one. You know what I mean? So what I feel like there might have been someone there, some spirit there helping her that maybe is either a spirit guide that's older or like a higher being, or like
Well,
where was
there
she
there
getting her
are.
information from?
You're right, because there's spiritual influence, and this particular story, it was there to tickle the minds, like expand people's belief system. That's part of the soul contract. But the other thing too is that the she's telling me that there's telepathic ability through her human. So some of the language, like, that is language of the time, because the energy is, it's more than one answer, because the energy is being affected spiritually, but it's also connected telepathically through the human. So the information that the human already had, so the level of awareness, so using the words I'm meaning, so the words that are coming through are going to match where the consciousness is of the owner. So
Okay.
not only that, so we've got, and Lady Wonder is not saying that it was like one thing, it's like a combination of energy. And so she's showing me when I'm getting information, she's saying I'm not getting it from one place because we're all connected. It might feel like it's coming in with one stream, but it might have different elements of how that information is coming in. Like, unless, of course, we're channeling an individual, but when it comes to picking up on a subject, there was also the boy as well. So the
I,
spirit of the boy.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, are you a psychic or are you a medium? Did you see the boy and that's how you knew boy?
Well, that is also because the perception is, well, of course, I'm getting the information from the source, and I'm asking the source, meaning the spirit of the boy. Yes, yes, and this is possible. She says all animals have this ability. All human beings have this ability. As she says, the reason why I came into this world in the way that I did, and why it was presented and so exposed, is to lift consciousness, is to raise consciousness and awareness. And that's why many different beings, human beings, animals, have part of their soul contract that gets displayed in front of others. She's saying even tragedies, things that get displayed, are there to help teach the collective, to help raise awareness. And she says that was part of her soul contract. She said, she's showing me buttons, like the dog buttons. And she says, medium, yes. Psychic, yes.
Ah,
But she says, love. Everything supports love. It's like that's the energy. So it was the love between her and her human that allowed an accelerated or expanded energy for her to be able to do that. That is it's like a recipe. You come in on Earth, and there's a recipe of all these different elements to help create the magic that we see, or what some would consider a miracle.
um, it's interesting. I think I have her owner. And but so speaking of her owner, a lot of people, her owner never like left her alone. The owner was always right by her side. So
Yeah.
skeptics would say, "Oh, well, the owner is feeding lady information." Um, but I mean, some that's why they did all those tests, and there were
Yeah,
things that even the owner couldn't see. But
that's right.
what was there a point to having your owner there? Like, is there a reason why she never left you? Was it
Well, there was some fear there of something happening to her, to the horse as well. So she's showing me that it was more out of love, out of protection, of why she stayed so close, to ensure that nothing happened to her. Out of love, bond, to make sure that no one could misuse her or take her. And yes, they are together. They're together. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting.
Someone must be wondering that because she answered it as if somebody was asking a question, like that's listening. She answered
Oh,
and said, "Yes, we're together." Yeah. So,
oh,
uh, I know there's for anybody that I don't know if you noticed, Maren, but there's a lot of energy that's moving around you right now. So if anybody wants to practice seeing energy, or watch around Maren because there is movement going on. There's stuff
oh,
happening. Yeah.
definitely. Well, there, literally, I felt the owner come in. Her name's Mrs. Fonda, and I felt like she wanted me to ask that question because she wanted to clear her name because so many people have
Oh yeah.
suspected her as like
Yeah.
kind of performing some kind of trickery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you definitely will see something over here, or I feel them.
And that's the there will always be that. There's always going to be a polarity because it for those that are not in a place of believing, they will see the evidence to support their doubts if that is what they're looking for. But it is there to help elevate that question, to bring things into question that yes, this is real. Yes, these things are possible. And they're quite proud of what they did in this life together. They're quite proud of it. They must have done other things too, um, they must have been involved in some other things, helping find things, or because it feels like a service. Like maybe she wasn't offering it. Like I don't mean like a service, but it feels like that's part of her soul plan. The two of them would offer some sort of a service, so they must have done other things. And Lady Wonder's just saying that there are times that she didn't get it right. There were some times that there were some things that didn't come through as clear, but there was a lot that did. A
Yeah,
lot that did. Yeah.
yeah,
That's very cool.
yeah. Yeah, they stated that. I think that that's so important too, because, as well, at least for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, but what if I get it wrong? What if I get it wrong? And like, I think that stops me a lot. And Lady Wonders, they did say that in the article, like, she did get a lot wrong, but she
Hmm.
got a lot
A
right.
lot right.
Way too much to
Yeah.
be, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like Paul, where it's like, well, you got some, the 50-50, you got some right and some wrong. Well, that's chance. But with hers, the specific details. And so just to not let that stop you, because
That's right. That's
the
right. Because
reputation
we
of
don't
helping, I
always get it
think,
right,
yeah,
right? Like we
yeah,
don't, and we're not. And I think it's important to say that when you're doing any kind of work like this, psychic work, is to be okay with sometimes things won't come out maybe exactly perfect, but we're not really here to figure out, like to have to apply the message. When we're giving a message or giving information, who is receiving it can let it land wherever it needs to. And sometimes things come out and we think, oh gosh, that was wrong. And then later down the road, we end up finding out why it came out that way. So it's so
yeah,
important not to judge it, just to bring it out. That's one of my things that I always say when I'm doing sessions. I'm not here to judge the information or how it comes out or really what it means. I'm going to just repeat everything I hear, see, feel, smell, taste. I'm going to give it all to you. And I'm going to hope that it all fits one way or another. Because to me, that's the most authentic way to bring it out is I can't You know, I'm not here to be 100% right all the time or to say I know exactly what's going on, because anybody who would say that puts a big old block on top of them. This is the truth and this is the only way, and I don't see outside of it. So don't let that hold you back. You know, don't let your fear of getting something wrong to hold you back, because when you trust in what you are getting, even if you don't understand why or how it fits, let it go. Bring it out and let it go. Don't judge it. Don't hold on to it, because what happens when you do that is your energy is the trust. The energy of trust is what solidifies. And when you trust in what is coming through, that will expand, and it will actually help you become more accurate by doing that. So it's all some work with the belief systems, the mind,
Oh,
and jumping through those hoops. That's really the hard work in all of it. The rest of it is just allowing yourself to be present.
how powerful our belief systems are and how much they impact us
Yes,
is
perception.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I kind of got that message from Mrs. Fonda too about um, she said it while you were talking, and I'm kind of confused, but like with the horse, kind of like letting like the true colors. Like she was talking about how like when you lead with love, like the horse, like she wanted to let the horse's like essence come forward, you know? And so when you were talking about like fear, she was like, yeah, you know, I could have been fearful who's going to believe a horse, you know, but I thought it was my duty to let the horse, um, like give her everything that she needs to be who she is
Yeah.
what she said. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I really loved that. And it kind of made
Yeah.
me think about my dog. I've been thinking about getting the buttons for him because he's so smart. And I'm always like, oh no, because he's always gonna like say he wants to play with his friends or play with his piggy or get a treat. Like, you know, like, oh, it's just gonna make my life worse because then I gotta like just tell him no or give him one, you know?
But it's really amazing though, isn't it? Like when we think, like, I know with my dog, it's just by the way that she looks at me, or I just know,
Yeah.
we just know that I was talking to somebody else a little while ago, in a session, and it's just amazing. She has a really amazing connection with her cat, and she was just sharing that she woke up one morning and had an image in her head that just popped in of, she said she could like smell cat food. She could smell it and she could see like the cat food opening. The cat was sending her a message for
She
food.
was hungry.
Like what? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so she just kind of played with it, and she called her cat, and it came running right to her. Like just called her in her mind. So it's amazing what we can do.
That's
Hmm.
amazing too. I was gonna say, so kind of, you know, the our pets are a little bit psychic because when depending on your version or your definition of what psychic is, because
Right.
they do kind of have these extra sensory perceptions, right? Of us,
Hmm.
they're just
Hmm.
so attuned to our energy
Yep.
that they really kind of, by definition, are psychic.
Yeah.
It's funny, my husband, or my dog is so perceptive of our energy. And whenever my husband is like frustrated about work and telling me like a frustrating work story, like the intensity that he tells me this story, you know, and like there's like some frustration, a little bit of anger, and like prolonged, you know, like when we get in a fight, it's like, well, you, and like we're done. But like when he's like telling these intense work stories, I don't know if it's like the length of it or whatever. There's just
Right.
different.
Right. Right.
And or I don't know, he's concerned for my husband, maybe I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, but he literally starts to cry and weep like in front of my husband every single time. And so like now, like it's so funny because we'll be like in this deep conversation and then we're like, oh my God, we've got to pick him up because he's worried about you. Like, isn't that so interesting that he
It
knows?
is.
And
It
he
is.
just will look at him and just like be this like little sad little puppy. Like I need you. Like I don't know what it is. It's so
They
weird.
have they're healers, right? Our
Oh,
animals
yeah.
are
So he's like,
there's
oh,
such a
pick me up and hug me. Yeah, you need
yeah,
me.
that's right. Because they know, like I have one of my cats is 17 years old, and he is we've always called him the anti-cry cat
The
because the
anti-cry.
anti-cry cat. He will calm crying down. So it does not matter who it is, if someone is in our home and is upset or sad or crying, this cat will come to them and get right underneath the neck and sit right on the chest and rub your tears. He has always been like this. He's always done it. But he is, I'll have to include a picture. I'll post a picture on the community board of what he does
Yeah.
because he's like a parrot. He sits on my shoulder and he
Oh,
lays on my chest. So there'll be times like
gosh.
all night long, I'll go to sleep and he will just sleep on my shoulder with his paws like this around my neck and he'll lay his head like this. So he's a healer and you can feel like the cats, I'm trying to think if it's 7,700 hertz. So cats they exude with their purr for
Oh, I've
healing,
heard about that.
right?
Yes.
So when I had my surgeries and everything, he would lay right over the areas from with my incisions. He would just lay there and just purr over them. So it's amazing because our animals, we do have a soul contract with them. And we should do a session sometime and really explore all of the, you know, different ways that our animals come through. Something else I wanted to tell you that I wrote down in the very beginning when you were talking, the information that was coming through. And this came in, I think, during a channeling Eric. I think it was about the afterlife, or maybe it was about pets. But anyway, I had explored it a little bit with Eric in a video with Elisa, and they talked about how animals were like the would guide many tribes. So animals like watching the behavior of the animals, birds and other different
Yeah.
animals in the rainforest and wherever these groups were, they would use them as to let them know when enemies were coming, to let them know, like, you know, there were so many things that they start to notice the patterns of, and it would help them with patterns of like seasons, food, hibernation. Like there's just so many things that when we really get into it and explore, there's so much information that nature, so much information that our pets can give us if we're able to start to study the patterns. And I mean, really, that's with everything. You study the patterns in your life, you get to know the patterns of behavior and the patterns of you know, not only your behavior, but everything around you. You can really gather a lot of information from that. So I just wanted to make that note that it's pretty incredible. Um, Pretty incredible what we are able to gather from our pets and from nature, from the birds, from everything.
Yeah. They are incredible. I know. I just wish we could all stop and celebrate them a little bit more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're so magical. And Lady Wonder, I'm just in awe. I mean, because not only I think it's a gift to be psychic, but then a gift to be so intelligent. Like your pet is so intelligent, they can communicate, you know?
She
So she had
lives
to
up to
learn
her
two
name.
skills. That's
Yeah.
just unbelievable.
Lady
And
Wonder.
Lady Wonder. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
really cool. Good
Yeah.
topic. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So
Really
everybody,
interesting.
please feel free to look up Lady Wonder and then look up Paul the octopus.
Paul the octopus. Yes. I love the name, Paul.
I know. I know.
I
I
love
wonder
names
if
like
there's
that.
like I'm sure there's more animals out there, but those are just I had heard about Lady Wonder in the past
Yeah.
and the story always stuck with me. Um and I'm sure there's more, but where does it cross that line of just dogs are so perceptive in general to I'm psychic, I'm seeing that boy,
Mhm.
I'm it's unbelievable.
Awesome
So
topic. Awesome topic.
yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for bringing through
Thank you.
Paul and Lady. We all appreciate that. I can feel their energy. I don't know. I'm like very drawn to Lady's energy. It is so like loving and like I'm
It
like, oh, I don't
really,
want to
yes,
say
it is.
goodbye to
It's a
her.
very,
Yes.
it's funny because when you were talking there, like, and just telling the whole story, I could feel all that loving energy. I was kind of in this little hypnotic state, like, listening to it, because that's how it feels. We're like kind of
I
like, well, that was awesome.
seriously, I feel it. I'm like, I don't want to say goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but we must, we
But we
must,
must. We
we must.
must for another
We'll be
day.
back again next week.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we hope you have a wonderful week.
yeah.
And I don't think there's no full moons, there's no retrogrades. Hopefully, this is going to be a pretty calm week. What do you think, Michelle?
I think so. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are integrating, processing a lot of things from these last few weeks. So be careful and cautious and very passionate with yourselves. One other thing I just wanted to let everybody know is we're at a time right now where we're really going to, more than ever, feel the speed of things happening around us. And what's coming up through our media, through, we're getting a lot of things that are coming up that are really cracking and shaking our belief system and of reality. So my reminder to you is, you know, make sure you continuously go in to yourself and be cautious of getting too caught up in some of the stories and things that you hear if you are listening to anything, because it can take you down a rabbit hole of energy that will kind of pull you away from yourself. And we can talk about that more maybe next week. But my advice for this week is to, stick with yourself. And if you are going to explore a little bit on some stories or news that's happening on the outside, be discerning. Be discerning. Stay as neutral as possible because there's a lot of things
That's
that are going to surprise many of us. Yeah.
that is definitely the topic for next week because
Yeah.
that is this election going on and it's he said this and she said that and so
Yeah. Maybe we
that's
can
a
help navigate, give a
yes,
little information to help everyone navigate through the bumpy roads.
that would be amazing. Let's do it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you next
All
week,
right.
everybody.
All right.
Bye,
See you
Maren.
later. Bye.
Bye.